Hi, I'm Matt Manchenton,
I'm Rachel Williams.
And I'm Nicole Spadone.
and we did the carbon dioxide emissions from traffic simulator project. I made the GUI.
I wrote the class.
And I wrote the code to calculate the emissions and fuel consumption.
We all worked together to plot the cars and write the code for the car movement.
And I edited this video. So these are the instructions for running the program. There are 3 files you need: the car.gui4m file, the car.gui4fig file, and the car.m file. To run the simulation, you need to open the car.gui4m file and press run. And to start the simulation, you press the start button, and you can pause it by pressing the stop button, and to resume, you press any key.
Okay, this is our class function from the car.m file to make all the move functions for our cars. So we took this from the green ball functions from class. It has the same properties plus the color, and when we move into our functions. So our first is the constructor function, where we build the cars and determine the random x and y positions and x velocity. Then we go down to the next function, which is the move function, and we set the y position so that we have our 5 car lanes, and this is the same as the green ball function. Then we have the set color function and the get color function so that we can make our 2 types of cars, and then we have the get points function so that we can plot the cars.
Here's our GUI. First, we generate 20 cars randomly, selecting the amount of Hondas, setting their color to green, and Volkswagens, setting their color to blue. Then we have it run through the program 10 million times, so it does not stop while someone is using it. Here, we have it call on the 20 cars. We call on the move function from the class definitions, getting the location and color of each car. If it is a Honda, we graph it on the plot as a green square and find the CO2 and fuel consumption of all the Hondas. Then, if it is a Volkswagen, we graph it on the plot as a blue square and we find the CO2 and fuel consumption of all of the Volkswagens. We also set our lanes here. Then we calculate the total sum of all the gallons and the sum of all the CO2 from both the Hondas and Volkswagens and change it to a string and place it in the GUI.
So this part of our function causes the cars to change lanes. First we pause it to put in the time mechanism to slow down when changing lanes. Then we make a for loop to run the cars, and then we have another for loop inside that to compare 2 different cars and make sure we don't compare the same one. So if the car is not equal to the other car, we see that if there's a car in front of the car and it's in its lane and its distance is between 1 and 0, then it's going to have to change lanes. So we go through each of the 20 cars, and the first if statement here says that if there's a car next to it in the right lane and left lane, then it has to become the speed of the car in front of it. If that's not the case, then it has to check where all the cars are. So if there's a car next to it in the lane above it, and there's a car in front of it, but there is no car next to it in the lane below it, then we tell it to change the Y position so that it changes to the lane below it. Then this next else if there's a car in the lane next to it, below it, and in front of it, but not above it, then we're gonna make it change to the lane above it. If none of these conditions are the case, Then we choose randomly which lane for the car to move in. We choose a random number f that is 0 or 1. If it is 1, then we make it move up a lane, but if it is in the top lane, then we have to slow it down to the speed of the car in front of it. If f equals 0, then we have the car move down a lane, but if the car is in the bottom lane, then the car slows down. Now all of the if statements and loops end here. Then in our stop push button, we pause the function or the program.
So this is us running our car GUI4 M file. And this is the GUI, and these are the stop and start keys and the static text box where the fuel consumption and the carbon dioxide emissions will show up. And this is how we start the GUI. And you can pause it and it will resume with any key.